Welcome back to Doom Eternal. We'll be getting to Samuel Hayden and saving him. We'll see if he actually wanted that, though, but...
Why on earth is Doom Guy going to help Samuel Hayden in the first place?
Because he would be able to know the location of the last guy we need to kill.
Yeah, we need him because he knows the location of the last Hell Priest.
Which is kind of important in stopping the demon invasion of Earth, so...
Yeah, as long as one of the priests is left alive, then the calling will continue.
Even though it should be running at 33% efficiency.
Strike me down and I shall hire more interns than you can possibly imagine.
Cut off one head, then 2 legs shall take its place.
I'm not sure how useful that would be.
I'm imagining the Hydra where it's like rah, and then you chop off the head, and then you suddenly see like 2 legs like in Christmas Story pop out.
Something went horribly wrong here. Of course, then it would just keel over and die because it no longer has a brain to tell its heart to keep beating. So,
Doom Guy yelled at the top of lung.
Yeah, that video's what, like 12 years old now?
Yeah, something like that.
Ugh.
Might be older. I think it might be like 13, 14. No, it wouldn't be 14. I want to say 2007 though.
Man,
So it gained popularity with the orange
back
box.
in the day when horrible fan fiction was something that you could genuinely make fun of rather than something people intentionally write because they think it's funny.
Yeah, I feel like fanfiction isn't generally made fun of as much these days because people are more okay with, like, it's not hurting anybody, you know?
We need to go back to making fun of fan fiction.
Well,
It's also a good kind of beginner's intro to writing situation. Just write something you know.
it's more just that, you know, the full life consequences tier of bad fan fiction that's so horrible you have to make fun of it is extremely rare and oftentimes written on purpose these days. But
Yeah.
genuinely bad fan fiction, just in general, isn't bad in a funny way. It's more just bad because the writer has...
It's kind of pathetic.
has no real sense of what good writing sounds like, really.
Or it's just them writing wish fulfillment where
That
they go with
too.
their OTP.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost count on the number of Harry Potter fan fictions I've read over the years that basically are just 20 chapters of Harry complaining about things the writer wants to complain about.
I mean, hey, if it gives you an outlet, good for you, man. But
No, I
also,
mean, it's like it's an essay about the things the writer doesn't like about Harry Potter masquerading as a power fantasy fan fiction. So the writer turns Harry himself into a mouthpiece for their review complaints of the books. Usually ones that aren't very
what we
well
call
thought out.
what we call Brian Griffith syndrome.
I don't get it.
Brian in Family Guy is basically a giant mouthpiece for Seth MacFarlane to complain about things.
Well, that's a fairly common thing in
that's
in
in everything. Like
It's particularly bad with Brian
well,
Griffith.
like
I mean-
Lisa in The Simpsons is basically just the writers a lot.
Well, it's more she became that.
I mean, it's common for a writer to have a character in the story that acts as their mouthpiece for social commentary and the like. Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park is basically Crichton's mouthpiece. That's his entire purpose in the story. He gets injured early on, and he spends the entire book hopped up on morphine pain relievers, spouting things about science that the author wants people to get. So, I mean, you think he's preachy in the movie, you haven't read the novel. He is the worst, but also kind of the best.
Yeah, I mean, there's aspects of every writer in some characters
But-
of their work, and it's hard for their, like, even if you're trying not to, I feel like it would be hard to not have some kind of a self-insert.
Usually,
somewhere.
though, when an author inserts a mouthpiece character into their story, they're in the supporting cast rather than the protagonist role.
That is true, yes.
Because the author is fully aware that it would be obnoxious to make them the protagonist. Another one that comes to mind is The Picture of Dorian Gray, where
Oh, yes, yeah.
the mouthpiece character is very prominent, but he's this guy who sits in a room philosophizing very obnoxiously the whole time. He doesn't really take an active role in things.
Yeah, he's just like Dorian's buddy, and he's just like, man, Dorian,
He's also
things would be so much better if you weren't evil.
He's actually a really bad influence on Dorian.
Oh, you're thinking of the other... Oh, I'm thinking of the other guy. Right, because there's, like, the three of them hang out, and one of them is the one who's like, yeah, dude, you want to go be evil? And then the other one's like, I don't know if you should be so evil, man. And then the painting in the cellar's like, Jesus Christ, just get on with it. Come on, man. Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that's the worst summary of that novel that I've ever heard in my life. But
quote me for your essay, you'll get an A. Oh, man.
Well, according to popular YouTube personality Ted Weeson, use it as a source.
Prominent
in
YouTuber
MLA format.
Mykonos fan.
Well, you might get an A on that essay if it was being graded by James Rolfe.
I mean, you could. As long as you MLA citation, your teacher isn't going to care.
How do you MLA cite a BrainScratch part? If we have any teachers in the comments, please let me know, because I'm genuinely.
I imagine you would just as a website, basically.
Yeah, but would you have to like timestamp the video? Like, I feel like, because I do actually. I remember looking this up. Well, not looking it up, but I remember talking to a professor about it when I was looking at colleges in high school. Because they had like one of those, meetings where, like the students in the acceptance day can go, and they had some professors there, and I was talking to one of them, and they were like, yeah, we talk about some video games in this class, and such. And I remember asking, how do you cite a video game? And she danced around the question because I don't think she knew how to do it either.
Well, nobody has devised an official way to cite a lot of things that you really should be able to cite, but because the formatting for these things is determined by mainly academics who turn their nose up at things that aren't well established decades ahead of their lifespan, yeah, we're probably going to have to wait a few generations before someone officially gives us a way to cite a video game.
So since we were ranting about academia, they're just a bunch of, like, they basically will just have whatever opinion they want to have and then find whatever they need to justify that opinion and just warp the conversation around it. That's why Moby Dick is taught in schools, because a lot of the academic people were really insecure about how many manly men novels from that time period were being taught. And Moby Dick was not a popular book when it was first released. You can't see why that wouldn't be the case, And so, like, 50 or 100 years later, they were like, this is a manly man's book about whales and obsession.
Adventure.
Yeah. So they
Revenge.
they basically then just elevated it to the purpose of being like, oh, this has to be a red classic because it's raw, manly literature.
To be fair, the concept of a book or a piece of art or a work of art not being recognized during its time and being recognized later is not exactly out there. And
that definitely can happen.
It's called Van Gogh syndrome.
Yeah, and it is deserved more often than it is not. So
yeah, that definitely does happen, and I'm not going to say that Melville's a bad writer, because I like his short stories a lot. I just do not like Moby Dick. It's just a matter of, at that time, a lot of the academics were really self-conscious about the fact that all these novels are being written by women. These women can't write novels. Men. It's, yeah.
Well,
the demons are doing happy slaps.
Well, do I have a great game for you? It's called Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, God.
That sounds like it should be an exaggeration, but then I remember the time period that Melville wrote in, and now it's probably accurate.
Yeah, he was like, I think, right after the Civil War or right before the Civil War. I can't really remember. Why are the demons playing happy slaps?
They're just fighting
they hate
each other.
People in
They're
the
bored.
old days were remarkably stupid about inconsequential things.
Yes.
Alright, let's see.
It's interesting, though, that as soon as you turn around, they both want to start killing you more than each other.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how it works.
You know what's great?
They have their priorities.
Though? The way the glory kills just snap magnetize you to the target, so that in a situation like that one, you can just use it to cheese past obstacles.
That's how there's a lot of, or they did a lot of skips in 2016.
Yeah, because like if you jump and glory kill something, you're snapped onto a platform you're not supposed
Yeah.
to
Which
be
would
on.
or it would put you past the door. You would have to
Yeah, it would,
find
like-
a roundabout way to unlock.
Yeah, it would just clip you either out of bounds or behind a door that would unlock later in the level.
I mean, I definitely understand why they have that though, because it's just easier to do
Oh,
it
yeah.
like that, and it's probably also better for the player too. I would imagine.
Well, you don't want to create a
It's-
mechanic and then not cover for potential programming missteps that could arise from that. But
Yeah, for the most part, it seems like they fixed it in this game. Like, if you do a glory kill that snaps you out of place, it tries to put you back into the position where you were at last time. Or
Yeah.
before you use the glory
the
kill, I
kill.
should say.
if you don't cover for those kinds of things when programming mechanics, what you get are things like the recurring issue I had in Tomb Raider Anniversary 2 days ago when I was streaming it, where I would climb up on a ledge, but because I let go of the grab button before the game decided I was definitely standing on that ledge, sometimes I would just jitter backward a step and fall off the ledge for no reason. And then, of course, because I wasn't holding the grab button anymore, I just fall to my death.
Oops.
That kind of stuff never happened in the original Tomb Raider, so it's a bit funny that it was a problem introduced by making the controls more modern.
Woo.
Was Anniversary one of the good ones or the bad ones?
One of the good ones, I would say.
Okay.
It's got all the control convenience of Tomb Raider Legend and Underworld without the overemphasis on Hollywood movie storytelling. So the sense of isolation and exploration is mostly uninterrupted in the same sense that the original games was. So as a result of that, it feels like classic Tomb Raider, but it also plays like, well, I don't want to say modern Tomb Raider because that's Uncharted, but it plays like Tomb Raider Legend, but it feels like classic Tomb Raider in terms of tone and the gameplay loop.
Ryan.
I'm bored. It's an elevator.
This is the equivalent of jumping up and down in the elevator because you're waiting
Yeah.
for it. Okay.
And you can't jump in elevators in this game.
I forgot that you could aim down sights with this particular gun, though.
Yeah, only with this one, thankfully.
Oh, aiming down.
It's like the one sniper type of weapon you have.
Well, it's
right?
technically a heavy assault rifle that gets a scope.
It's
Yeah.
a major trend in a lot of shooters for a while was that every gun had to have an aim down. sights.
Oh, he's okay.
Every single gun had to have an aim down sights mode, but not all of the shooters necessarily had a gameplay loop that required them. So it just felt like an unnecessary extra step to shooting. I mean, it's one thing if you're playing something like Stalker, where you're creeping around behind cover trying to take out enemies as fast as you can without getting hurt, because if you get shot, you're probably dead. So that kind of, all right, I'm going to very carefully hide behind this building rubble and hit the lean key to lean slightly around that cover and aim down my sight to headshot this guy. That kind of thing was really immersive in that sort of experience. But it feels like you shouldn't really need to aim down your sight with your pistol in a game like this, you know?
Yeah,
I gotta
and
make sure
your
my pistol's
accuracy
the most
is
accurate.
your accuracy is always perfect, even if you're moving and jumping and whatnot. So you don't really need aim down sights in a game like this.
Yeah, but there were a bunch of games somewhat in this kind of
Yeah.
style that tried to add that kind of thing. It just sort of bogged down the pacing, really. Thankfully, Doom is not silly enough in the head to try that. Not this year, anyway. Man, what is it with the floating head that...
It's mega health.
It just makes me think of Nier, you know? It makes me think of the big moon mask that the creator wears.
Oh yeah, Gotaro.
Yeah. Or maybe it makes me think of the mascot for Spacer's Choice from Outer Worlds. That poor bastard.
Oh,
Which reminds
That's a
me,
game I forgot
they're
about.
doing DLC for that game. I wasn't actually expecting it, but we're getting an expansion for that. So I'm looking forward to that.
I should pick it up. I got that game on Xbox Game Pass for a bit, and I haven't picked it up since I haven't renewed my Game Pass. But I enjoyed the bit of Outer Worlds that I played.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It lacks in some areas that Fallout New Vegas had strengths in, but it is definitely a good game and showcases a lot of the strengths that Obsidian is known for, while also bringing in a weird helping of BioWare, which is probably something that not very many people are going to understand, because sometimes it feels like I'm the only person on this planet who plays Western RPGs.
You definitely
Sorry,
aren't.
buddy.
You're just the only person in this call.
Well, to sum it
I mean,
up,
at least those kind of Western RPGs.
to sum it up, BioWare is known for a certain type of characterization in the way their party members are written and interact with the player, and a lot of that kind of thing shows up in Outer Worlds. But Outer Worlds also has the things that Obsidian are known for, which is to say, a lot of dialogue-based roleplay choices that let you make decisions within gameplay that you might not be able to do in a game that BioWare makes, where there's a lot of binary Paragon Renegade, blue versus red, goody two-shoes versus ruthless hero, moral meter choices to make. Like, in the first world area, you can choose between one faction, which is clearly bonkers, the other faction, which really wants you to sympathize with them, but the choice that you would make to side with them would kind of screw over the other faction beyond repair. But there's a third choice hidden in there that you can find if you really think about it. And
The do nothing option?
not the do nothing option, no. You can help both sides, but you just have to think outside the box. And that winds up being the best choice for everyone, even though both faction leaders wind up kind of not liking you for it. So yeah. And that's just, one thing. Hello, NPCs. Wow, living, talking humans. Are we gonna rip their heads off?
No.
They're good. So, at some point in the events of the last game, the UAC, the Demon Company, broke off into like two warring factions, I guess you would say. The good side that realized, like, hey, maybe doing shit for hell is bad, broke off and became the ARC, which is helping us in the war with the demons, and this is them.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Sam.
Him.
What did they...
He was in he got wounded in battle and shit against the demons.
We couldn't figure it out. We have to prepare for this.
What? His suit is alien.
How could that be?
Are we just ripping the... Okay.
Yes. What do you think? It's Doom Guy.
I mean,
Also,
you could
here
kill him.
he is.
It's him! My
Ugh.
favorite friend.
Ugh. I don't like the Marauder. I mean, his design is cool. I love his design, but from a
This
gameplay
is-
standpoint, I don't like him one bit.
For
I like
so
how
many people,
The scientist
this made
guy was
so many
talking
people
about how they
leave
had to
the
prepare
game.
a careful extraction to get Sam's core out, and Doom Guy's just like, you know what, fuck that shit. I'm just gonna rip it out, and then when the boss appears, he spawns a portal and just throws him back to the Fortress of Doom to deal with later.
Alright, so... You know this game about being hyper-aggressive, and if you're losing, you need to be more aggressive to kill enemies so you can get your health back?
This guy...
Let's play a game of Street Fighter Footsies!
So, this is an enemy that resists the usual...
He is the hell version of you, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can only hurt him when you interrupt his axe swing.
Which
When
you
his
have to
eyes
be
go
at a
up.
certain distance from him, because if you're
Yeah.
too far away, he will throw energy beams. If you're too close, he'll use his super shotgun. So when you're fighting him, it is all about spacing and reacting to counterattack, which is the complete antithesis to how Doom 2016 in this game work.
On the other hand, it does kind of feel like they're going for a Virgil situation here, where you're fighting a rival on equal terms.
Yeah, I actually really like the Marauder.
Like I said, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. I wasn't a big fan at first, because like I couldn't quite get down what exactly we were supposed to do for the fight.
Oh no, I watched Twitch streams just to make sure I wasn't the only one, and everyone struggles with him on the first time.
Yeah, I lost several lives to this guy the first time.
It does feel like like although the gameplay here is solid, there's no natural learning curve that takes you to this conclusion before you get here.
Yeah.
Especially compared to how the rest of the game works.
If anything, this guy is setting up a learning curve for a boss later on more than the Marauder himself.
I mean, this is going to be a weird comparison because the Souls series is a really slow and meticulous series, which Doom definitely isn't. But I think this comparison applies for this boss in particular. There are a lot of boss enemies in the Souls series where you're, instead of fighting a giant ass monster, you're essentially fighting a guy in armor with a shield and a sword or an axe or some kind of weapon that you yourself might be wielding. And you have to fight them on basically equal terms. Basically equal, except they don't die as fast as you. Of course.
Yeah.
And that feels like a really satisfying mano-a-mano rival battle situation. But it's more organic in that situation because you're not fighting them in a substantially different way to how you fight the regular enemies.
Yeah, like I said, the gameplay in and of itself isn't the problem. It's that it's so different from what you're normally doing in the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive to what your mindset is when you're going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I mean,
So I certainly wouldn't mind him coming back and them changing how he works. Just in context of this game, I don't think he fits in.
they probably could have achieved it better if you had a shorter encounter with him earlier on before the final encounter here.
Oh no, there's more of him later.
Oh.
Oh my god, is there more of him?
Yeah. This was the easy version of him, but
Oh.
we'll get to that in future parts of Doom Eternal.
Oh no.
Oh boy.